Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. We're just over a week for the elections in Maharashtra and its 15-year-old alliance broken. Is there any way Congress can retain power? Or is it prepared to accept that in the wake of Narendra Modi's 24 rallies, it's staring defeat in the face? That's the key question I shall put in part 2 in an exclusive interview to the former Chief Minister, Prithviraj Chavan. But first, Jayalalitha supporters had high hopes that the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu would be released on bail today. It didn't happen. But the campaign in her support, unleashed by her ministers, MPs, MLAs and supporters, has raised questions about their behaviour, the AIA-DMK party and its lack of respect for the judiciary. So in part 1 we ask, are there limits to what you can say or do in support of a political leader? Or does the bond of loyalty override respect for the judiciary as well as the proprieties of democratic politics? And now, after she's been refused bail, what will her supporters do next? Joining me to discuss what's been happening in Tamil Nadu are the well-known Supreme Court lawyer Dushyant Dave, DMK lawyer K.S. Radhakrishnan, TV anchor Sumant C. Raman, and the associate editor of The Hindu, T.M. Veera Raghav. Dushyant Dave, given that bail is a right and not a privilege, and given that the prosecutor in this particular case said he had no objection to the grant of conditional bail, in your eyes, do you believe the Karnataka High Court made a mistake in refusing Jayalalitha bail? Dushyant Dave, can you hear me? No, unfortunately, I don't think he can. Let me put that question to you, Mr. Radhakrishnan. Mr. Radhakrishnan? We don't seem to have him either. I'm afraid we don't have much luck at the moment. Veera Raghav, let me repeat the question and put it to you. Given that bail is a right and not a privilege, and given that the prosecutor said he had no objection to the grant of conditional bail, did the Karnataka High Court make a mistake refusing bail to Jayalalitha?
I don't think it would be fair, Karan, to comment on the Karnataka High Court's decision that way. The judge has relied upon Supreme Court orders. Now, this is a trial that's gone on for 18 years and a conviction was granted finally and sentence was given. The judge in his order today or dismissing or not accepting the plea for bail or a suspension of sentence has clearly cited Supreme Court orders as well in the past. So pretty much the Karnataka High Court order cannot be can be debated on its merits, but you cannot, there would always be two sides to it. Okay. Given that it's the judge's jurisdiction, his discretion to have decided the way he wanted to as far as that application was concerned.
Mr. Radhakrishnan, Jayalalitha's supporters are upset that she was denied bail, particularly because the prosecutor did not object. But A. Raja and Kanimoi spent just over a year and just under a year respectively when they were not even convicted. Jayalalitha at the moment is a convict. So would you say that Jayalalitha has been done an injustice, or would you say she's been treated the way most people often are when it comes to bail? Mr. Radhakrishnan? No, we don't have Mr.
Sir, I'm not able to hear the voice. There is a problem.
No, I don't think we have Mr. Radhakrishnan. Dushyant Dave, are you there? Can you hear me, Mr. Dave? We don't seem to have much luck at the moment. Mr. Dave, I believe you're there. Let me put that critical question to you. Jayalalitha's supporters are extremely upset that she's been denied bail, particularly because, as they argue, the prosecutor said he had no objection to conditional bail. But given that A. Raja and Kanimoi spent over a year and just under a year respectively in jail when they were not even convicted, in this instance Jayalalitha is now a convict, do you believe the judge in the Karnataka High Court was wrong in refusing bail, or do you believe he simply treated her the way most people are treated when it comes to this issue of bail?
I think there are two ways of looking at it, Karan. One, I personally consider that this was the worst assault on the judiciary by Jayalalitha's supporters, which was really unfortunate, because this kind of drumming up of support and this kind of behavior on the part of the supporters was absolutely unacceptable, and it was clearly a pressure which was sought to be brought upon the learned judge. And I'm really happy that the learned judge did not come into that pressure and gave an independent decision denying the bail. That's the first aspect. To my mind, the behavior of all these people is contemptuous, and I would be happy if the Chief Justice of Karnataka High Court were to start suo moto contempt proceedings against Jayalalitha's party and these party office bearers who have really been responsible for this. Having said that, let me say that the denial of the bail, to my mind, is absolutely justified for the simple reason that for 18 years Jayalalitha was able to drag this litigation beyond, absolute imagination. And this is unfortunate in this country, that the rich and the powerful are able to hijack the judicial system in this kind of a fashion. So I think the denial of bail on merits also, because the learned trial judge has really found a lot of material against Jayalalitha, and his judgment is a very well reasoned judgment based on evidence which was brought in the record. So I don't think the learned judge of the High Court has made any mistake. The concession by the public prosecutor, to my mind, was wholly unacceptable. I really would wonder in what circumstances the prosecutor really made this concession. And I think the High Court will have to reconsider his appointment, to my mind, because it was really unacceptable that anybody should concede in a case like this, because we as a nation are fighting corruption.
Okay.
And unless we fight that to the hilt, it would be impossible for us to really, remove this evil which is seriously plaguing the nation.
Now, Mr. Raman, on the other hand, would you accept that Jayalalitha's supporters were being naive in actually believing and expecting that she would get bail today? Because as the Karnataka High Court judge pointed out, the consistent line taken in recent years by the Supreme Court in corruption cases is that these are very serious, severe cases. They amount to a denial of human rights, and therefore automatic bail doesn't necessarily follow. So do you think Jayalalitha's supporters in expecting bail had overlooked all of that?
Before I get into that, just to make one point to what Dushyant had just mentioned. In the Lalu Prasad Yadav case as well, in the Supreme Court, the Additional Solicitor General representing the state actually said that they did not oppose the bail, and that was the day on which the bail was actually given to Mr. Yadav last year. So that's just to say that the prosecution, there are precedences or cases where the prosecution has not opposed the granting of bail. The second part, in a similar kind of a corruption case. Second point is about the issue that you brought about the protests that are happening. Look, there are two things. On the day the judgment was given, there were spontaneous eruptions of emotional outbursts, you may call it, and there were certain buses, window panes and damage and all that.
But Mr. Can I stop you? I'm not talking about the... You're slightly misunderstanding my question.
The posters that have been put up,
I'm not talking of the posters, Mr. Raman. I'm interrupting you because you're slightly misunderstanding the question. I'm not talking about the protests. I'm talking about the supporters' expectation that Jayalalitha would get bail. I'm saying, were they naive in expecting bail?
I agree that they should not have anticipated bail to have been granted today. In fact, informally, whatever was being discussed off the record, people were saying it could take a little longer, perhaps even the need to go to the Supreme Court to have the bail granted and so on. But yes, the argument that's being made that the supporters are going berserk and all that. I mean, people should be on the streets of Chennai. There is no problem. There is no violence. Nothing is, except on the day of the judgment, there has been a fair. I mean, to say that law and order is an issue and all that as is being made out is completely removed from reality.
Well, actually,
there have
just a moment. You're jumping ahead of the.
Who has put them up?
Mr. Raman, you're jumping ahead of the discussion. Yeah. We haven't even got around to talking about the protests. You've already begun to speak about it. Let's take this one by one, otherwise the audience won't know what we're talking about.
Dushyant saying that the protests were completely unacceptable and so on.
Mr. Raman, no one's actually begun to comment on the protests, so just take it stage by stage. I'll give you a chance to talk about the protests, but let's get to that first. Let me start that discussion with Dushyant Dave. What do you make of the nature of protests? First of all, the Vellore Municipal Council has passed a resolution, Mr. Dave, criticizing Justice D'Cunha for convicting Jayalalitha. Then there are posters in Chennai today which read, and I'm quoting, "Release Jayalalitha immediately, otherwise we will hold hostage Kannadigas living in Tamil Nadu." And if the Madras High Court hadn't intervened and declared it to be wrong, many private schools and many private colleges would have shut down today in sympathy. Now, in a democracy where the rule of law is sacrosanct, are such protests acceptable, or do you think they are condemnable?
Absolutely condemnable, and I am really shocked that Ms. Jayalalitha, who enjoys otherwise a wide support, should have really allowed her party to, hold judiciary to ransom in this fashion. I am really glad that the learned judge of the High Court did not come under the pressure, but I am very clear in my mind that these were tactics to bring huge pressure, psychological pressure on the learned judge of the High Court, and it was really unwarranted, it was unfortunate, and to my mind it was clearly a case of contempt. I have no doubt about the fact that these kind of things should not be allowed, because these politicians think that they are actually above the law, and if you are going to allow one politician to get away in this fashion, you are condemning every day a policeman who takes 5 rupees or 100 rupees bribes and send them to jails. Okay. And these politicians who amass wealth which is grossly disproportionate to their known sources of income get away. Everybody gets away in this country. Unfortunately, we as citizens have a feeling that the politicians are above the law, and that feeling has to be overcome. Okay. And I really am glad that the trial judge and the High Court have really, I think, instilled some amount of confidence amongst common citizens that there is rule of law, okay, which will be applied to the politicians irrespective of the status. So I think that really what happened was unfortunate, it is condemnable, and as I said, I okay, hope the High Court will take suo motu action against these kind of demonstrations.
Mr. Radhakrishnan, you've just heard Dushyant Dave, a leading Supreme Court lawyer, say that in fact these protests amount to contempt. I want to put a different question to you. I want to ask you, Mr. Radhakrishnan, how you view the role of politicians in these protests, because the poster... Just a moment, let me ask the question, then you answer. The poster threatening to hold hostage Kanna diggers if Jayalalitha was not immediately released was put up by P. Kumar, an AIA-DMK MP, Valar Mati, a Tamil Nadu minister, and Kalaya Rajan, a South Chennai MLA. Is it right for politicians, a minister, an MP and an MLA, to threaten innocent Indians in this way? Mr. Radhakrishnan?
Yes.
Can you answer the question?
This is unwanted, unwarranted. Now the process is in the judicial fora. It is out of politics. Now these people are taking all these things. They are ruling party in here, taking all the advantages. They are spoiling the law and order problem here. Our leader already made a point, this thing. Okay. Today he met a press, also he told this government should maintain the law and order problem. Yes, but this government is not bothered.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not answering my question. You're just giving a general answer. I asked you specifically whether it was proper. Just a moment, Mr. Raman, I'll come to you. Mr. Raman, please do not interrupt people. I'll come to you, Mr. Raman. Await your turn. Please don't interrupt people. Okay. Mr. Radhakrishnan, I
am telling, this is out of politics. Now the matter is pending in judicial fora. We have to look at the judicial process. Why these people are coming and fighting in the streets?
Right. Veera Raghav, another AIA-DMK...
They have to maintain law and order situation because they are the ruling government here.
Thank you, Mr. Radhakrishnan. Thank you, Mr. Radhakrishnan. Yes. Veera Raghav, another AIA-DMK...
This sounds...
Just... let me come to you, Veera Raghav.
This sounds like the cacophony on Tamil Nadu streets.
Well, maybe we're doing a very good, very similar dude here, but that's not really our intention. It's only an accident if we're succeeding. Just a moment, gentlemen. I'll come to each of you.
It's good to sit somewhere else and talk about the law and order situation.
Gentlemen, I'll come to both of you one at a time. I know this is an emotional issue that concerns you very deeply and one you want to speak on, but let's take it one by one. The rest of the country surely should have a chance to understand what you're saying rather than just hear you people quarrel. Veera Raghav, another AIA-DMK MLA, this time a gentleman called JCD Prabhakar, has distributed over 1 lakh forms in his Villa Vakkam constituency condemning the injustice done to Jayalalitha. Now, whilst everyone has a right to criticize a judgment, should an elected politician seek to whip up public anger against a judgment by distributing 1 lakh forms claiming its injustice?
It is extremely irresponsible, not just to question a judgment of this nature, but to question a judgment allegedly of a Karnataka court. That is the way the portrayal has gone down by the AIADMK, and that is extremely unfortunate. This is a judgment by a court of law in India. It was a case that was not sought after by Karnataka to be brought here. It was transferred to Karnataka by the Supreme Court of India. So first of all, the first thing that the AIADMK must stop doing is to call it a judgment by a Karnataka court, or the judgment by a Karnataka High Court, a rejection of bail by the Karnataka High Court. It has to respect that this is a High Court in India which has made that judgment with its own set of factors in front of it. Now, having said that, demonstrable loyalty and this kind of display of emotion towards the leader is something the AIADMK has always mastered at. It is something to grab. There is a competition within the party to show who is more loyal to the leader. I don't think you can blame the leader alone for it. It's also the question of how the cadres react. Having said that, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Paneerselvam, I believe, has issued a statement which has asked for calm in the state.
Yes.
But there should be categorical dictation from the top, asking the AIADMK cadres to indulge in inflammatory or statements that could potentially, question the judiciary's intentions and the judgment that has been issued. And I think it's extremely unfortunate that it's going down to that. Just a very simple point here,
Very
Karan.
quickly.
I don't think you can blame the AIADMK alone for it. I think it's part of a larger political culture in the state.
Absolutely.
I don't think the DMK...
I'll come to that larger political culture in a moment's time. Mr. Raman, this is an issue on which I know you're very keen to speak. You were interrupting several times earlier because you wanted to justify the protest. You've heard Dushyant Dave say that the protests amount to contempt of court. You've heard other people say that it is unbecoming, demeaning, in fact, of politicians, ministers, MPs, MLAs to be whipping up protests where they are saying that Kannadigas will be held hostage if Jayalalitha is not immediately released. How do you defend these posters? How do you defend what Dushyant Dave calls contempt of court?
Nobody is defending these posters. These posters are completely unacceptable, and the police commissioner will have to launch an inquiry into who has put up these posters, and action should be taken against them. There is no denying the fact that there are some posters which are being put up which are completely unacceptable. Having said that, there are 2 points that I want to make very quickly. One is law and order has become an issue in the state. Now, this is the most... how many people have been hurt over the last few days? Just because, the first day there were some incidents which was an emotional outburst, and even in those incidents, nobody has been seriously injured. There's no reports of anybody even being admitted to a hospital on that particular day. After that, the protests have been quite peaceful. There have been protests. Now, obviously, I mean, if a leader of a political party to whom the cadre is so attached, there is also the issue of there is a large groundswell of sympathy in support of Ms. Jayalalitha. I think that is being missed, and that is among the public. Forget about what the cadre is doing. Why not you people come and ask the people of the state what they think of this whole issue that is going on?
Can I interrupt?
No, 1 minute. I'm not saying they should question a court verdict and that the law should take its own course.
I want to interrupt you.
But the way this is being projected, and let me add 1 point, Karan.
Quickly.
On this channel itself, a few hours ago, there was a scroll which was going, Jaya to spend Diwali behind bars. Now, what kind of coverage is that? You don't even know that it's going to happen. For all you know, the Supreme Court may grant bail next week. And the caption goes, Jaya to spend Diwali behind bars.
I'll tell you, I'll explain to you why that scroll rang. Because the next date set by the Karnataka High Court is somewhere around the 27th of October, which is after Diwali. Unless the Supreme Court intervenes in advance, she will be spending Diwali in jail. So will over a lakh other prisoners.
There is no guarantee at this point of time that she would have to spend Diwali behind bars. When yet the
Frankly speaking, I'm not sure whether that's a relevant issue, but I'm going to stop you and I want to put this to you. You began by saying that those... Mr. Raman, listen to me. calm down a moment and listen to me.
Yeah, go ahead.
You began by saying that those posters were indefensible. You said that the police commissioner should take action. Now, those posters have been put up, and I'm going to name them again, by P. Kumar, an AIA-DMK MP, by Valar Mati, a Tamil Nadu minister, by Kalai Rajan, a South Chennai MLA, and then there's also separately...
Anybody can put up... No, 1 minute. It is very likely that they could have been put up by some very junior cadre, and these names get put on. This is a common practice in Tamil Nadu, not just among the AIADMK. It happens among all political parties, where the local, those who are in charge of that little couple of streets or whatever, they can even put up these posters, and typically they put up the name of the MLA, they put up the name of whoever their allegiance is to, and so on those posters.
Okay.
So, in fact, if you recall, the Bangalore Police Commissioner has spoken to the Chennai Police Commissioner, and the Chennai Police Commissioner has said
Mr. Raman, I want to bring in someone else. I want to bring in someone else because you're making a very interesting, if potentially controversial, defense that, in fact, these posters, although allegedly put up in the name of P. Kumar, Valar Mati and Kalai Rajan, may not have been put up by them. Their names may have been used without their concurrence. Is that
it's a very common practice?
Let Veera Raghav answer that. Veera Raghav, you're an independent journalist. You don't belong to any of those Tamil political factions. Is it possible that these people's names were used without their concurrence, without their wish? Just a moment, Mr. Raman. Let someone else answer.
Karan, can you repeat your question? I couldn't hear you clearly.
Is it possible, as Mr. Raman is suggesting, that the names of P. Kumar, Valar Mati and Kalai Rajan were used as the people who put up those posters without them actually being involved? That, in other words, they are being framed, or that their names are being used without their concurrence and permission or desire?
They could have just instructed them immediately to remove those posters. Look, at the end of the day, whether they are informed and whether their permission is sought before putting up a poster is a matter that that is between the person putting up the poster and the leader. But the fact is that each one wants to demonstrate how sad they feel about the justice, how sad they feel about the judgment, pardon me. And in that process, they want to demonstrate their loyalty to the leader. And hence these posters will come up. As long as it's just mere posters which are not provocative, which are not trying to cast aspersions on the judiciary, it's fine. You can express your sympathy, you can express your loyalty in the form of posters. That's part of the political culture in the state.
Sympathy is different kind.
When it becomes inflammatory.
With the judiciary. Sympathy is a different kind.
You
are confronting with the judiciary, not good in democracy.
Mr. Radhakrishnan, let me ask you this.
No,
you're a DMK supporting lawyer. Just a moment.
Sympathy is a different factor. But you are fighting with judiciary, unnecessary confrontation with judiciary, not good in democracy. It's not a healthy...
Mr. Radhakrishnan, listen to me for a moment. Mr. Radhakrishnan, I'm interrupting you, Veera Raghav. Listen to me for a moment, Mr. Radhakrishnan. You're a DMK supporting lawyer.
What? Sympathy is a different factor.
Mr. Radhakrishnan.
Now the problem is, yes.
Just listen to my question before you start answering. You're a DMK supporting lawyer, Mr. Radhakrishnan.
DMK supporting, it is not a matter. I am telling, sympathy is a different factor. These people are confronting with the judiciary. It is not good in democracy.
Now, can I ask you a question, Mr. Radhakrishnan?
That is my stand. That is my stand.
Mr. Radhakrishnan.
This is above all politics. This is above all politics. Why these people are fighting with the judiciary, unnecessary criticism against the special judge who delivered the judgment in the special court?
You're a great believer, Mr. Radhakrishnan, in the right to speak. I congratulate you for upholding that principle, but you don't believe in the right to listen to questions. Not one of my questions have you answered because you haven't listened to them. You interrupted me every time, and therefore a very fruitful discussion that I could have had with you simply hasn't happened. Let me then put that last question to Veera Raghav, and I apologize, Mr. Radhakrishnan, that you and I simply haven't been able to talk to each other right through this show. Veera Raghav, a very quick answer. Explain to audiences, particularly in the north, why in fact Tamil political supporters erupt in this frenzied way, because the truth is DMK supporters would have done identical things. Why does this happen in Tamil Nadu?
It's because of the nature of politics in the state. That is how they've expressed their politics. That's how their political campaigns are. You see the kind of reverence that you see, the kind of... it's part of the larger political culture that has been created over the last 30, 40 years of film personalities entering politics, everything becoming larger than life, and there is an emotional melodrama that's played out. It's perhaps similar in other states as well, Karan. I don't think you can single out Tamil Nadu alone for the culture, but yes, it's probably far more extreme in this state than maybe another state. Given that, I really cannot understand what Mr. Radhakrishnan's objection was.
Okay, you're probably absolutely right that it may not be different to other states, but it is certainly more extreme in Tamil Nadu than it is in other states. My thanks to all three of my guests. My thanks also to Dushyant Dave, who had to leave us early, and my apologies to Mr. Radhakrishnan that neither he or I were ever on the same wavelength to actually be able to have a conversation of any sort with each other. Time for a break, but then an exclusive interview with the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Prithviraj Chavan, on his party's prospects in the forthcoming elections, as well as his own. See you in a moment after the break.